Okay, we are recording.
Good morning, all the members. Can you identify yourself for the hearing? Robert Barrieau, Acting Commissioner.
John Higgins.
David Foster, contractor member.
Keep going.
We have Phil, right? Phil, did you want to introduce yourself? Are you still there?
He's muted, Karen. And for the record, this is Janita Hamill from Investigations Division, Consumer Protection.
And Cammie's here, and I don't believe, Phil is not muted on my end. He's muted on his end. Can you hear us,
Todd
Phil?
Birch appears to be muted. Rich appears to be muted. I could be wrong.
Right. That's on their end though, so they need to unmute themselves.
Okay.
Morning, it's Todd. I'm here. Not a committee member, but I'm here.
Morning, Todd.
Morning, sir.
Okay, well, I guess that's all I want to acknowledge, that we're here. So,
But we have Tom Casey and Cammie just joined us. So
okay.
I'm not sure if they can hear us, if they want to say hello. But they're here.
Okay. Tom, can you hear us? Can you acknowledge? Cammie, same thing? Oh, well. Let's go with the meeting. We're going forward.
Hey, Bob, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay, everybody had a chance to take a look at it. Any questions? Concerns? Motion on the floor. Dave, can I get a second?
Second, David.
Further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Comments or concerns of any person present today? Anybody got something to talk about?
Would this be a good time to introduce Terry Jo?
I think that would be perfect if you could do that. Go ahead.
Where is she? So everybody, I want to introduce Terry Jo Powell. She's our new license and application analyst in our department, and she'll be working with your board for the legal hearings, possibly some of your regular board meetings. So I just wanted to introduce her.
Good morning, everyone.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. It's good being here.
All right, sounds good. DCP Investigative Division Complaint Status Report. Pamela, you going to handle that?
Yes, actually, just for the record, Pamela Brown, Director of Investigations. On your agenda, it says the report will be based on the July date. However, Janita will report out on the cases, but it is not for July. So Janita, if you want to take over from here.
All right, I have to get that. Karen, do you have it up or no?
They got the report emailed to them that was dated June 1st to July 31st. And then in the email today, do you have another report beyond that? Because I don't have it, anything past July 31st.
No, the report will be run on November 1st for the previous 2 months.
Okay.
So are there any questions?
Did everybody
First.
receive that report by email? I sent it yesterday.
I got mine.
I got mine.
Okay.
So looks like you've handled a few cases. It looks pretty good. Any curveballs in here, Janita?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman. We try to not have any curveballs. We try to make sure everything's as much as possible cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
Does it always happen that way? No, but we try to make sure when it's closed that the notes are easily read by the board members, and we go from there.
looks pretty good, and thanks for the size of the print that we can read it.
You're welcome. That was a work in progress, trying to be able to make sure that when I send it, that the font doesn't change or it doesn't shrink. The other thing that you need to know, when the members get it, if they look at the top toolbar, they should be able to find a section where they can zoom, and they can either hit the zoom and the percentage or the plus sign to get it to move up and down.
You can blow it up to be able to read it easier. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Hey, Bob, one thing for, it's John Higgins for Janita.
Yes, John.
You know, just not getting into any case, but I did make a complaint, and part of that complaint was that the person that pulled the permit did not seem to be working for the contractor
Mr.
doing the job.
Higgins, excuse me,
Yep.
Mr. Higgins, you're talking about an open current case, and we can't discuss that
Okay, I
amongst
wasn't
the
gonna get
board
in,
members.
I'm not getting into specifics. I'm just getting into the
But
general
no,
question.
no, sir, we can't even discuss it at this meeting. You're more
Okay.
than welcome to email
problem.
me or call me.
No problem. It was just your comment made to me that I was just gonna bring up, but no problem.
Okay, thank you, Janita. Anything else on questions for Janita? Thank you,
good.
Janita. Pamela, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it appears we have no old business. We have some new business, application review working group. Karen has been sending out notices to me, and it seems like it's every week, which is a little bit of a concern for me. Karen, I'm wondering if we can do it every 2 weeks, or is this what the commissioner or DCP would like to do?
Not sure if Richard wants to chime in on that as far as what we can do so that it's not every week and overwhelming to everybody going forward.
Yeah, going forward, we're just gonna do once a month working group with all the occupations that have any applications that the working group needs to review.
Okay, my concern is, do we need to have all of the boards on that working group? Or should it just be individual board? Because that's another issue. I mean, I don't need to listen about electricians not finding a light switch. I'm just trying to make the best use of our time.
All right, well, we can probably work that out, right, Karen? Maybe, so we can divide up the trades.
Right. I mean, we could do it so that there's
One per board per month,
or
if needed.
right.
Usually the glass board and fire protection board never has anything. They had one so far, the fire protection board. Glass board hasn't had anything.
Right. We
So
can do
we just
that
do-
for, maybe we can do a 9 o'clock for the heating. If there's a lot of them and we don't want to wait, maybe we can do the same day, but like 9 o'clock for the heating board applications and 10 o'clock for plumbing board applications, that type of thing. If there's
Yeah.
a lot of them, don't want to wait, we can see what happens.
And you've been sending them to me, and I'm getting them, and I'm pre-reviewing and putting my 2 cents together, and then I have a discussion. Okay, so that's not a problem. We'll work through that. For the board members, just want you guys to be aware of, I've reviewed a few applications recently, and I made my comments and I sent them back. And Richard and Todd went through it, and there's been a little bit more activity on reciprocity, which I'll talk about in a minute. But there are some that are cut and dried where they just send in an application, a copy of their D license, and the fact that they want to go for an S license. So it just doesn't make sense, and we're returning them to the party saying, lack of apprenticeship stuff and so forth. So those are there. On another one that we were just discussing earlier in the week with Richard, one of the things that has come up, and the electrical board is now doing it. If you have reciprocity from another state and the licensing are kind of matching up, the electrical board is now saying you don't have to necessarily sit for an E2 since you're a contractor in another state, and you can sit for an E1. And in my discussion with Richard, we were both kind of in agreement that if you've been in business for 1 or 2 years, I think you really need to sit for a license, a mechanic's license, and then the master's. However, if you've been in business for 20 years or so, and you are a contractor in another state, I don't see why we would not allow them to sit for the master license in the state of Connecticut, since they already are an existing contractor, and as long as their licenses are matching up with ours. Bringing that out, I would like the board's opinions as to where we're at. Do you feel comfortable with me doing that, or are there some problems?
Hey, Bob, it's Tom Casey.
Yes, sir.
I am actually licensed in 5 states, and I can tell you how other states handle it. If I go with my S1 contractor license to Florida or Georgia or South Carolina or wherever, they let me sit for the contractor's license test without doing the journeyman's test first. However, I have to be sponsored. In other words, I have to find, in the case of all the 3 I just named, I have to find 3 sponsors, at least one of which who is currently a contractor within that state. And then they have to like write a recommendation letter, notarized, certified, the whole deal, essentially attesting to my worthiness of being a contractor. That's in addition to proving out that I do hold a contractor's license and what my experience is. And then they also do a extensive background check on all the contractors. So they go out and they look at your criminal record, as well as if there's any pending lawsuits. So I didn't have to sit for like a 2-test thing, but I definitely had to clear a few hurdles. I'm not sure what we're allowed to do in Connecticut, but that's just feedback for what other states are doing if there is reciprocity.
Okay, and how do you find 3 references?
Like in the case of South Carolina, for my trade, I had to find a professional engineer, which could be from any state. I had to find a contractor within the state, which I knew, who was at the same or higher level than I was seeking. And then I had to find, because I was applying for an unlimited license, I had to find a commercial client, which I used the Connecticut client to say that I was qualified and they had good experience with me. So it does sort of say you're not just going to come to our state and get licensed. You're going to have some contacts or some context.
Right, but if you have a license in a state of Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
and we have courses and curriculums, you're already established. And I guess maybe that's just a bugaboo about those states that they don't want the fly-by-nighters coming in, which I don't disagree with. However, we do have quite an extensive, rigid program. And I don't know if anybody is as good as what we have here in Connecticut. I mean, Richard, what are your thoughts on something like this?
Well, the ones that we did look at would be an individual from, let's say, Rhode Island that had a Rhode Island journeyman's license initially, and then got the Rhode Island contractor pipe fitter license and master pipe fitter license. That would be the typical example. And likewise for Massachusetts, the Massachusetts person has a journey person pipe fitter license and the master pipe fitter license. And those are the ones we'd be looking at. Someone from, let's say, a county in upstate New York where there's no licensing requirements, even though they could prove they're a contractor, I think that's a totally different person. They may not even have school-related instruction, and that's somebody that you might say they got to go for the journey persons first if they can show some hands-on experience and school-related instruction from a school system out that way. So
I agree with that, as long as, like Massachusetts, Rhode Island, they have time requirements, they have educational requirements, so they're very similar to us, not necessarily identical, but they're more competent. Tom, what are the requirements for the license in Florida or South Carolina? Is there a schooling program? Is there a certain number of hours, or you just show up?
No, you're right. There definitely has to be an alignment, and in Georgia, like, I have to prove my education, and the S1 program, just kudos to Connecticut. No state that I've been in has the requirements of Connecticut. Connecticut's the toughest state by far. And mechanical contractor, like, S1 isn't a category in other states. It's a mechanical contractor. And there's things that are included, like in some states, I can install gas stations. Like, I can put in gas tanks and gas pumps and crazy stuff, which I'm licensed to do. But trust me, Dave Foster, you don't want me doing it. It's going to be a bad scene. But there is a requirement. Our educational requirements are not met by most states. And so it would be like, prove your education should be, because a lot of states, the barrier is, do you have literally, you just have 2 years of experience to become a journeyman with no education. So you just have to show your hours, and then 4 years of experience to be a contractor. So they wouldn't have our education, and virtually no states beyond the New England window have any requirement for fuel oil and very little for propane. And of course, nothing for hydronics, boilers, unless you're in the mechanical contractor world. There's like a very limited number of that outside of the Northeast. So matching up education should be, no matter what, I would think, do you qualify? But then if you do, great. If you don't, even if you pass the test, wouldn't we still want them to, like, at least take some classes? Because passing the test is one thing. You can go into any state, pay for a prep course, and be able to pass the test. It doesn't mean you know shit.
Yeah, I agree. And Rich, because of everything that you do, are there many more states with similar licensing requirements that are coming online? Is there?
No, for the heat and cooling trade, the only ones over the years have been from Rhode Island or Massachusetts, and neither one would be for the S1 unless you hold, like for Rhode Island and Massachusetts, if you hold the Rhode Island refrigeration master license and the Rhode Island pipe fitter master license, and that would be the same for Massachusetts. They don't license refrigeration air conditioning people until it gets over 10 tons. So you'd have to have that license in Massachusetts, as well as the Massachusetts master pipe fitter license, before the board might want to consider for the S1. So predominantly, I remember years back, a journeyman pipe fitter in Massachusetts could go for only for our S4 license.
Yeah. Okay. Mike, I see you're in here. Are you able to speak at all?
Yeah, sorry I was late. I got caught on the phone.
Not a problem. Another question. If you're a union member here, like 777, and you went down south, is your license still acceptable down there?
No, what I usually do is, let's just say one of my contractors is going to do a job down there. I contact the local union down there to find out exactly what my contractor needs to do to get licensed in that state. Or same thing with a journey person. If they're going to go work in Atlanta, hey, what do they need? We're in the same boat.
Okay. It seems though that it's becoming that each state over a period of time is now getting more and more interested in providing some licensing requirements, whether they're less stringent than Connecticut. But it seems that we've been very fortunate that when this bill was proposed many years ago, it's done quite well, and we've made adjustments along the way. Anybody else have comments about the things that I brought up and some of the decisions I made? Because I don't want to cross paths with you guys if you think I've gone in the wrong direction.
I missed most of the conversation, Bob, so I don't, I really don't know what's going on. And
All right, well, let me.
sorry, I was on the phone. I got caught on the phone.
Oh, no, that's okay, Mike. Let me just explain what happened. I'm getting some of the applications, okay? And Karen and Richard are sending them to me. And then we're supposed to have a Zoom meeting with Richard, with Todd, Richard, myself, and Karen. But my schedule gets a little tough sometimes. So when I get them, I will take a look at them. And as I was saying, I was talking to Richard. The electrical board, Larry Valeries, is now allowing out-of-state contractors that meet our requirements. If you're a contractor with 20 years of experience, he's allowing them to not have to take the E2 and take the E1 license. So recently, we had a couple of applications, and some didn't have any information. So I rejected that. No apprenticeship, no schooling, no nothing. But there was a couple of them. One was from Massachusetts, and he's in New Jersey. He primarily was a refrigeration guy, and he wanted an S1. So I denied that and said, you could, in talking with Richard, he says, he fits into the D3 category. So since he was a contractor of record in, I think it was 3 states, I approved him. I denied him for the S1, but if he wanted to go for the D3, that would be fine because he was refrigeration. And then there was another application where a gentleman had 2 licenses in Mass and 2 licenses in Rhode Island, and he wanted an S3. And based on his experience, we approved him for an S3 because he had matching credentials. But this is not a decision I'm making, and I send an email. I made it up. I couldn't attend the hearing, but Richard and Todd, I believe, I'm not sure. I can't speak for Todd. I think we're in agreement. So wanted the board to be aware that this is a couple of the things I've done because we don't meet in person anymore, and I don't know when it is, and would love to have you guys at a meeting for a change. But those are a couple of the things that I've done, and I want to make sure I'm not crossing a line here that you guys are unhappy with that decision making.
Yeah, I got mixed feelings on it, Bob, both positive and negative. It always baffled me why a person from another state, if they held contractor licenses in many states, it always baffled me why they had to take the journey person's license first, then the contractor license. But on the other hand, I mean, Cammy would know better than me since he's a registered lobbyist. I mean, is that really a state statute that you got to have the journey person's license first, then the contractor license?
I don't know.
I'm all right with it, Bob, the decision that you made, because it was always, it always kind of irritated me if a guy had the real credentials in other states, and I just thought it was a waste of money and a waste of time to get a journey person license, then reapply for the contractor license. But if it's state statute, I think we should adhere to it and maybe change it.
I don't know if it's a state statute. Cammy, are you on? Can you reply to that?
Cammy's got his mic. He's got to click his mic off. Can you do that, Cammy? There's an icon on the screen if you're on the computer down the bottom left-hand corner where you can unmute your little microphone symbol.
Richard and Todd, you got my emails. Did you have any difficulty with the responses on those applications?
We did not. I mean, Todd can speak too, but we went along with your recommendations. And these were both unique individuals because they had journey person licenses and contractor licenses for, in that limited field area. And as far as the law is concerned, the law says the board or the department may consider equivalent experience and training. So we could actually waive any portion we want, whether it's the apprenticeship portion or the journeyman time portion, as needed.
Okay, Mike, in response to yours, since we're not able to get a hold of Cammy, and hopefully he's hearing this, if he has concerns or issues, we'll talk a little more, or we'll send out an email. But I just want everybody, one, to be aware of what I've done, and two, make sure that you're comfortable with those decisions.
Here's an interesting thing, Bob and Richard, and I think you said Todd is the other person. In the various states, electrical people are required to have apprenticeships, and plumbing people are required to have apprenticeships. In the other 4 states that I've become a mechanical contractor, the HVAC trade does not require apprenticeships. I don't know why that is. So I'm just saying it so some people coming from other states on the electrical side or the plumbing side will most likely have had to also serve an apprenticeship, but a lot of states do not have an HVAC apprenticeship. So the education and experience requirement will be a harder one to prove.
All right, it's interesting. Now, you've been down south for a while running a couple of companies. Have you seen some of the licensing credentials change over the last couple of years?
No, in the South, it's more like the wild, wild West. I think if you can fog a mirror, you can work in the HVAC trade in the South. There's no requirement. Like anybody in a truck, they could have picked them up at Home Depot, thrown a shirt on them and put them in a truck. There's literally no schooling, no requirements, no nothing.
Well,
hey, Bob, you're gonna ask for that. So our laws here, our apprenticeship and all that, are very stringent, as Tom had said, and you're gonna vet that out. So I don't have an issue with what you're doing because of our laws, in our apprenticeship program, you're gonna vet that out, and you're gonna find out, because if they've had no experience or no education, you're not gonna let them sit anyway. So
I've migrated guys from the South to the North and North to the South. And kind of like Michael was saying, now I'm the one having the conversation between the different companies. But a guy coming from the South, the best he could hope for is a D license. There's no way, I'm just telling you, there's no way he can qualify for any type of burner or S whatsoever. And a guy migrating from the North to the South, he's like a stud. He's immediately the best guy in the company.
Right. So I think you're doing fine, Bob.
Oh, can you say that louder, Dave? I didn't hear you.
I think you're doing fine, Bob. I know you're getting old, but
yeah, I am. All right. If there's any problems or issues, please send. Cammy, you can't get in. Please send us an email or something so we can address everybody's concerns and don't want anybody to be cut out. Anybody else have anything that they want to add to the meeting?
Bob, I just want to make sure that okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at the attendees and there was a phone number in there. I was wondering if that might be Cammy, but they're not there anymore. So we still have Brian Thomas.
I think that was Phil Benoit.
No, he's still there. There was another phone number in there.
Okay.
But now we just got Brian Thomas. So sorry to interrupt. Whenever you want to address him.
All right. No problem.
Hey, Bob, if I may, I just called Cammy on his phone. He's trying to do the Zoom meeting on his phone and he doesn't know how to unmute it on his phone. He's all right with what you're doing too, Bob, like everybody said, as long as you're vetting it the way you are and matching up the apprenticeships and everything else. And like Tom said, when when a northerner is going down south because of everything we have up here with heating, high pressure steam and all that, we're much more qualified down the south than somebody from Florida or Georgia coming up here. It's totally different because Florida don't have steam heat. So we're all right with it.
Okay, that's good because you guys have been a fair bunch of fellows to deal with, and we're just trying to expedite it. These Zoom meetings are just wonderful. However, you know, if you can't make the normal meetings, there's something about the interaction and going through it all.
And Bob, I gotta say again, you as the chairman and everybody on this board, I said it last month or the month before, and it's no disrespect to anybody, but I attended the plumbing board meeting on Zoom, and I just appreciate how we all get along. We might disagree, but we're not disagreeable. And I was heartbroken after I got off the plumbing meeting because I just saw a complete divide between union and non-union, and it shouldn't be. On the board as license holders and contractors, we should be here to represent the industry, period.
You know, this industry has helped all of us put an awful lot of food on the table over the years. There's also been a wealth of knowledge learned through committees like this. And being very fortunate to have gotten on the board, I've met some great people. And we can agree to disagree, but there's different ways to do different things. And I think this is a unique board in its play to be fair to everybody. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm concerned about. So I guess that's about it for this meeting. It looks like the next regular board meeting is in January 2021, unless something else comes up. Anybody else have anything they would like to add? If not, I bid you all adieu. The meeting is adjourned. Yeah.
Did Brian
wish
Thomas,
everybody a happy holidays.
does
All right,
Brian Thomas want to address the board with something?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he can speak. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, we missed you, Mr. Thomas. Please identify yourself.
Yeah, my name is Brian Thomas. I'm with Armstrong Propane in Terryville, Connecticut.
You're with who, sir?
With who?
Armstrong Oil and Propane in Terryville, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And, I had come to a board meeting about a year ago. And due to COVID, it kind of held me up with being able to test out. But I've got S10 and I was told to come back in a year for my S9 exam. And I'm just looking for approval to sit for my S9 exam. I've got my EPA 608 universal. And
Okay, Brian. Richard, Karen, do we have anything paperwork wise on Mr. Thomas?
No, he's looking for the board to consider waiving the 2-year waiting period. Brian, what was your previous license prior to the S10?
I had gone for the B, but it was recommended that I go for the S considering my experience in schooling. So previous to this, I've held a gas contractor's license for 4 or 5 years now. I started in this industry back in the 90s, working on oil burners and for what used to be Bantam Supply, and then now I guess they're Bantam Wesson. I worked for Cleve Fuels, and I've worked for AmeriGas Propane, and now I'm with Armstrong Oil and Propane.
Okay.
So he's looking for consideration of a partial waiver of the 2-year waiting period. He hasn't made application yet to PSI for the S9, but he happened to show up at today's meeting before he wastes his money, but to ask or plead with the board to waive a few months of time to go for his S9. By the time he applies and by the time he finally gets approved, it's going to be another couple of months down the road at the rate we're processing applications. But
question I have, Mr. Thomas, when did you appear before the board?
I came to the board meeting here in Hartford last year, and I actually wound up talking to Rich. I guess you guys were having a presentation in the room, and the person, I believe,
Right.
with I'm sorry, I don't know your name, with the ocean in the background there. I think
Me?
you stopped at the door.
Okay, I'm trying.
Oh, yeah, hello. Yes, you. Yeah, you stopped me at the door, and then I wound up talking to Rich.
I thought you're older than me.
Okay.
You have no problem? Yeah, I know, we're trying.
Hey, Brian, how long have you held the S10 license?
All right, talk to you later. Okay, thanks. You have no problem with this guy, right?
Out for my S10 at the end of last year, and I got approved for it. And then it took a while for PSI to process my application. I finally got processed in January, late December to January. And then everything shut down because of coronavirus. Everything finally opened back up, and I was able to take and I was sit for my S10 exam just about a month ago.
And you passed the test and all that?
Yes, sir. I got 85 on the exam.
Okay. Normally, to waive the contractors 2 years, there's usually, we ask for a hardship.
Yes, sir. My employer's contractor is retiring, and he needs me to step up and get the contractor's license. Like I said, I was supposed to sit for my S10 last year, but with the coronavirus, I couldn't. Everything shut down. They weren't doing any testing, so I was unable to do that at that time.
Yeah,
So now back up, I was able to sit and test out for it.
Yeah, and you worked for Pete Aizes and worked under his service manager. How long were you at Bantam?
I was at Bantam for a little over a year back in '98. I went to ICPA school down in Wallingford when there was an ICPA school down in Wallingford. Rich has all the records.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine you have all schooling, so.
Gentlemen, I received a phone call from Mr. Champlin because he can't get on. He remembers this gentleman, and he did say that we told him to come back in a year.
Yes, sir.
So,
like I said, I was unable to do that because of I was unable to test out when I got approved because everything got shut down for coronavirus or COVID-19.
Yeah, Bob, I'll make a motion to.
Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
We have the documentation of the hardship. Like, do we have anything from the owner of the company indicating that, or?
You can. Yeah, he's right here. I'd like to speak to him.
Well, I would prefer that maybe if we make a motion, Dave, maybe you would consider that it has to be with acceptable documentation, maybe.
Certified. Would you like
I just want something in the file that says that we want to actually know that we're making.
You want a notarized statement from his employer indicating that there's a need for him to be a contractor of record holding the S9 license immediately because they're going to need that contractor person to obtain permits as necessary for the company.
Yeah.
And he can send that letter in with the application. He just passed the S10 recently, so, and then he can send in the S9 application with that letter that Richard's referring to.
So
right?
Brian, you fill out an application with PSI, you attach your exam results of your S10 license. If we even gave it to you yet, I'm not sure when they printed it.
Yeah.
And also the employer letter requesting the waiver.
Yeah, I sent the test results in, and I guess it's taken them a while to process it with the way things are going right now. But yeah, I have another copy of my exam results. I can do that. Sure.
That'd be fine. John, did you have something to say? John Higgins? I thought you.
Nope, wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
Okay, what I'd like to do is just going to have a couple of caveats. Karen, I can't find my notes from the minutes that Mr. Thomas came in, but Mr. Champlin did remember this incident. I'm going to trust Mr. Champlin's brain power. It's far superior to mine. David, if we could make a motion with a couple of caveats, one being we have the hardship letter, and upon receipt of that, in an application, then we can do something. Richard, should that application still go to PSI?
Yeah, what would be good if the board could vote today that Brian Thomas must make an application to PSI with a copy of the exam results attached, and also the letter of hardship from the employer, and submit such to PSI. And then when the department receives it, the department can review the letter at your next MOU meeting with you and Todd Birch and myself, and agree that the application should be approved.
Okay, David, can you make that motion, please?
Yes, I'll make a motion to waive the hardship with a notarized letter from the employer and an application.
I'll second that.
All right, Tammy's in favor of it. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, so the motion carries. Mr. Thomas, you do understand the situation. You need to provide us with some documentation, and we will go forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for following our recommendations, and glad it worked out. It's a lot easier this way, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
And,
all right.
what's the status of testing now? Is there any special stuff we need to be letting people know with COVID, or is there open all the centers yet, or how's that looking?
Speaking from experience, I had to go to Mass. They're usually in Connecticut. They're usually about a month out. I had to go to Massachusetts to get my exam done in a timely fashion. They're scheduled out pretty good. They're opening up. The centers in Connecticut for the most part are open. They're just limiting the number of people that are allowed in, and they do more than just our trade exams there. They do some other stuff too. So sometimes it takes a little bit to get scheduled, but if you're diligent, you can get it done.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
Hey, Bob, I got something that I just want to discuss if we're done with Brian.
I believe we are. Mr. Thomas, you're all set?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good luck. We appreciate your following it up. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was going to call Richard. Richard, I saw the emails going back and forth, and I guess I'm a little uneducated on this. So here's our situation with an individual, one of my members. He recently came to America from Puerto Rico. He doesn't speak English, so I have a hard time communicating with him. He brings his wife in so she could translate to me. And I will say he's a heck of a welder, just a natural. He's a younger guy, and he's failed the G8 twice. And I guess I was under the assumption that he could have a translator there. And Richard, I guess the only thing that he could bring in is a translation dictionary. My only concerns with a translation dictionary for this guy is, how is he going to navigate through that dictionary to understand the questions? It's just, he had a really hard time understanding the questions.
Okay, so Mike and John, you know the guy's work, you know what he's doing. Where are we with something like that? Is there a proctor that can go in, Richard? Yes, sir.
Well, he can have a reader assisted exam if he gets some type of documentation that he needs it, but the law says all exams must be in English. So,
you're the best.
I mean, he could get, I don't know how the translator thing would work out at a test center. We'd have to, because of COVID and everything else, and they probably closed down the test center so that he could be there with whomever, that's a non-trade related person, to read it to him. He is getting in the 60s, and he did try to take it twice, so I give him a lot of credit. So I guess if the board rules or that he's allowed to have a translator, his wife as a translator, you know, specifically, who's a non-trade related person, I'll try to make it work with PSI.
All right, well, Richard, I just listened to Cammy call me again. He said we used to send someone along to help. So, Mike, John, do you have any other, what's the right way to do this? We need someone to make sure that the wife, when she's reading the question, she may not understand what her husband's doing.
Well, no, Bob, you can't have that much help. You can only have somebody that reads it verbatim from the screen and translates it to him. They're not supposed to have any knowledge whatsoever. So as long as she can read the question to him in his language, then I could probably get that approved.
I'll be honest with you, Richard. I don't know if I feel too comfortable having his wife be the translator, because I don't want anybody on this board or anybody think that we're using his wife as a scam. So I think I'd rather have a third party translator, unless everybody's all right with his wife. I mean, I feel a little funny about having his wife do it.
All right. Well, we normally do use third party translators, but I thought, if his wife isn't trade related, and that's what his question had been.
She's not trade related at all. But if the board votes on that, I'm going to abstain. I'm going to stay out of that.
All right. Then the board should vote that he'll have to get that you can hire translators from a translation services. Is that what you're suggesting, Michael?
No, I'm just saying if the board votes for his wife, I'm going to abstain because because of the relationship with me and the member and his wife. That's how I've been communicating. I don't think they would try to pull the wool over any testing facilities. And she's hard to communicate with sometimes too. Not as tough as him.
I would abstain as well.
I would approve the wife. The wife's fine with me.
But is the wife, you guys, will the wife be able to read English properly? You guys think?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, all right. Well, then there's the rest of the board members and Cammy. If I think the wife would be fine. She's been doing the emailing.
I'm good with it too. Unless she's
All right.
she's a crackerjack welder or something.
In a motion?
Yeah, we should have a motion.
I make a motion that we allow the wife to be the translator.
Before we go through this, Mike, is it okay to identify the candidate for the record?
Yeah, I believe John is Sebastian Alvarez, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Came from Puerto Rico. He's got a bunch of weld certs from us. He walked in the door and I said, hey, listen, I don't know what I could do for you, but I'll send you to our school. And if you could pass a test, I might consider taking you in. We gave him one test. My teacher called me, said, hey, this kid's unbelievable. So we gave him carbon steel stick. We gave him carbon steel TIG. We gave him stainless steel TIG, stainless steel stick, and MIG. He passed every single one.
Okay. So, Tom, can you make a motion, please?
Make a motion, we allow the wife to be the translator.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor, we have a second. Further discussion? There being none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Well, hopefully he hasn't picked a test date yet, because otherwise, Karen can just send notice to PSI that he's approved for a translator. The translator shall be his wife, and he gets extra time because he has a translator. And then we'll just go from there and see how we can get it to happen.
All right, Richard, should you email them or do you want me to call them? How do you want to handle it?
Well, you could call him right away, Michael, and just let him know, don't pick a test date if he hasn't yet, because that messes up their computer, because they download, the exams are uploaded into a queue.
Okay.
But anyway, if he did already pick a test date, he could try whacking it again, but But if he hasn't, then Cameron will just send an email to PSI that he's approved for his wife to be the translator at the test center and time and a half to take the exam. It's not bad. It's a 40-question exam for the G8. So I would think they'll make arrangements somehow, even if it means he has to be there on a Saturday or something, so they can close the center down.
Okay, I appreciate it.
All
right.
right. Anything else for anybody on the board? There being none, this hearing is now adjourned. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and your efforts. And Cammie, we'll try to work with you next time so we can hear your wonderful voice. Everybody be safe, okay, and enjoy.
You too. See everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Care.
Thank you.